Well, it's double duty today, as today I'm not only going to have to do the news of the week, which is once again going to be a very long video because we have tons of news that I have to discuss, but I also have to do the preview later today, and I already have my Dallas jersey ready for the preview between Dallas and Nashville. But there's also another game that I'm going to have to do the preview, and I'll explain later in this news of the week of what exactly that game I have to preview alongside with Dallas versus Nashville. Also, this is the second consecutive day where it is incredibly hot, although I have actually just recently found this little fan right here, which that's why you kind of hear like that humming sound early in this video. I found this in my closet, and it seemed like it still works very well, so that's why I of course decided to turn on it. It's definitely not as loud as the one that I talked about yesterday, where the reason why I don't use the regular fan during a hot day like this is because that regular fan is incredibly loud and you couldn't hear my voice if I would have turned that thing on in my room right now. But that being said, let us actually get into the news of the week. And besides the preview is the reason why I have already wear my FC Dallas jersey, I also have to talk about a couple things that's related to FC Dallas. And unfortunately, I have to start off with something that I don't really want to talk about a lot on this channel, because this is something that can very easily be a very controversial topic, and that whenever I talk about controversial topic, I not only have to be careful what I said, because whatever I said could easily offend a certain group of people that view this topic in a different way, but also it can easily lead into politics. Now, unfortunately, we're gonna have to talk about the Reggie Cannon statement and also the ongoing debate about the national anthem, of whether or not if the national anthem should be played during games and whether they should not be played during game. Now, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, the Reggie Cannon statement, well, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have already heard if you watch this league very closely. So Reggie Cannon basically came out on Twitter and made a very strong statement that he felt absolutely disgusted with some of the fans that was booing the players when they were taking a knee during the national anthem. And by the way, if you want to read the full statement, it's actually on the league website and also on the FC Dallas Twitter page. Just don't look into the comment section in terms of that statement, because the comment section can be very toxic at times, and in this instance it is not only just very toxic, but there are a couple of people that was tweeting are clearly from the extreme right-wing kind of supporter that of course have commented in that statement. So I recommend you to not actually look at the comment section and just kind of look at the statement in a whole. And you know, it's pretty clear that MLS, with what you have seen throughout this MLS's back tournament, and what you have ever since the shooting of George Floyd and the protest that is going on, it's pretty clear where MLS is going in terms of the side that they chose. They have chose the side of the Black Lives Matters movement, and they have already condemned the players to be okay and have their rights in terms of taking a knee during the national anthem. And pretty much in every single game of the MLS's back tournament, every player have taken a knee before the whistle has been kicked off. Now, obviously, I know this is something that not everybody, of course, have agree on, and I know there are some group that have loudly talked about how they really don't like what MLS is doing, and that they feel like this whole kneeling thing is just kind of disrespectful to the flag, and the fact that the Black Lives Matters movement is just an excuse for these people to kind of have a voice about that. But at the end of the day, this is what MLS is doing, and this is the direction that they're going. And whether if you like this decision that MLS is doing or not, you know, if you don't like the decision, it's okay to not watch this league. I mean, it's okay to not really care about them, and okay to pretty much leave, because I feel like right now these people that clearly do not like what MLS is doing are just here to not only say that they don't want to leave, but they're just putting some hateful message. And, you know, it's not only the fact that Reggie Cannon basically made a statement about how he feels disgusted of these these fans boo at players that take a knee. But he also mentioned that he have received death threats and also some racial slur that he have received since he have made that statement, and that is just clearly not right in terms of the way it goes. And that I know we still have a long way in terms of trying to resolve this issue, and that this whole Black Lives Matter movement has really divided in terms of the side that which one, of course, you're taking. But at the end of the day, like I said, the league is clearly going into the side where they condemn the Black Lives Matters movement and they agree with it, and they'll support any players that might get threatened for exercising their rights of either taking a knee during the national anthem, or the fact that they're making a strong statement about the whole Black Lives Matter movement that's going on right now. Now, in terms of the national anthem debate, again, I'm going to take the fact that I feel like the national anthem isn't really necessary in terms of being played right before the game have started, because I never really understand the true definition of why exactly, or not really the true definition, but the true meaning of why exactly they need to play the national anthem before the game. I mean, I understand the national anthem obviously represent not only the country flag, but it also represent like a tribute to the military and stuff like that. And in some sense, I know the NFL, the reason why they play the national anthem is kind of partially because the military basically paid them to do it, and all those flyover that you see in NFL games, yeah, the military of course pays it. And anytime when the NFL gets to pay to do something, they usually are going to do it, because the NFL is one of, if not the richest league in the world, and anytime there's money involvement, they always are going to say yes. But this is not the NFL. This is the MLS we're talking about. And if we're going to play the national anthem in tribute to our military, why don't we just do it when we're actually paying a tribute, and on these special holiday that we're paying tribute to the military? Like, why don't we just play it during Memorial Day and the 4th of July? Why do we have to keep playing it every single game? I mean, this is basically like saying playing the national anthem is kind of like basically just pay a tribute in terms of the military, but you're basically doing it almost every single week. And at that point, I just feel like that's kind of unnecessary in some way, unless if you're a person that really the reason why you want these holiday is because you of course gets a day off. But yeah, my kind of side in terms of taking this national anthem debate, I take the side in terms of the fact that I don't think it's necessary that they of course play it. And keep in mind, we, along with Canada, are like one of the few countries that actually play the national anthem before games. Like, if you watch any European soccer league, they never played the national anthem. Like, not even the Champions League final, which is the biggest game in club soccer, they don't even play the national anthem of whether the two finalists from their respective country or the country that the Champions League final is hosted. So yeah, that's kind of some of the reason why I think why maybe the national anthem shouldn't be played like almost every game, but I feel like they probably should just play it during specific holidays. But that being said, let's move on in terms of talk about other news, and I think that's probably the longest discussion that I, of course, will talk about in terms of specific point. And I also mentioned the fact that this is also going to be a very long video, just like the last news of the week. But moving forward, speaking of Reggie Cannon, there has actually been offer for Reggie Cannon that FC Dallas have received, and one of those offer is from the English Championship side Barnsley, as they of course want to get Reggie Cannon. And I wonder whether if they decide to try to get him, maybe has something to do with the statement that of course he have made. Now, I have no doubt that Reggie Cannon, with the way that he's been now with a couple of years with the Dallas team, and go all the way back to being in the academy of this Dallas system, it feels like it's kind of right around the time where it's now or never for Reggie Cannon to of course decide to take the step and move to Europe. That being said, do I think Barnsley might be a spot that he could aim for? Probably not. I mean, I feel like if anything, he could potentially join a team that, Barnsley is a team that barely escaped relegation in the second division, and if you want to play a team that kind of barely escaped relegation, and if that's kind of the dream that Reggie Cannon want to do in terms of playing in Europe, that's fine with him. But overall, if he want to get a shot in terms of the U.S. men's national team, playing with Barnsley is not going to be a way to earn yourself a spot in the U.S. men's national team. And I feel like there's got to be better offers that or better team that Reggie Cannon could join when he is in Europe, and that Dallas, depending on how much Barnsley offer, like if they offer a lot of money, then maybe Dallas would decide to sell him on. But if Barnsley is not offering a lot of money out of this, I don't think Dallas really want to take that offer, especially Reggie Cannon is one of the highest asset in terms of them potentially selling their player into Europe. Now, speaking of Dallas, they have also officially signed midfielder Andres Riccardi. I think that's how you pronounce, from Independiente Medellin. He's a Colombian midfielder, and I heard he has a lot of potential to be a very decent player. So, yeah, I think this is definitely a good signing for Dallas, and if this might be a signing to potentially replace Reggie Cannon, we shall see how it's going to be. But yeah, Dallas, clearly they are trying to follow some of the same route that a lot of teams are trying to do, which is trying to find these hidden gems in South America and sign a young player. Although I know Andres Riccardi isn't really young. I think he's like 25 years old right now. But again, a lot of people say that he has a lot of potential to be a very decent player when he comes to MLS, and we shall see if that, of course, is the case. Now, Columbus and DC United have swapped defender, with DC getting Axel Schuberg, while Columbus, of course, get Emmanuel Boateng. And that's not the only defender that Columbus, of course, got this week. The Crew also acquired Inter Miami defender Grant Lillard in exchange for a third-round pick for Inter Miami. And there's nothing wrong with Columbus decided to add some depth in terms of their defense. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Vito Wormgård, unfortunately, is out for the season after he suffered that knee injury in the first game of the MLS back tournament. So obviously, they need to sign a couple of defenders to kind of add the depth piece in terms of defense. So yeah, I think this is definitely a good signing for Columbus, getting these two players. And as for DC United, getting Axel Schuberg, also a guy that could be a very good piece in terms of the depth charts for them. So overall, I think this deal definitely is a win-win for both of these teams. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, Nashville has acquired Alex Mule in exchange for 2020 and 2021 international pick, as well as 50,000 GAM for 2021 to the New York Red Bulls. And personally, I think this is the right move for Alex Mule to eventually move to another team, because you can clearly see he was found out of favor when he is currently with the Red Bulls, and that feels like maybe it's kind of the times when you're kind of the players that's kind of fell out of favor with your current team. Maybe you need a change of scenery in terms of getting another club and hope to get a starter spot. And I have no doubt that this change of scenery will definitely help Alex Mule, and that I won't be surprised if he's going to be gunning for the starting spot in that midfield for Nashville SC. Now, another news that I actually didn't put here on the board, but I want to just quickly mention, is that they also signed a U.S. young or U.S. youth national team player, and let me just double check to see who exactly this is right here. They of course signed U.S. youth national team goalkeeper Brady Scott. Now, I don't know much about this player, but this was kind of a very interesting move, considering the fact that Nashville has already got a decent goalkeeper in Joe Willis. So unless if they decide to sign him as a backup goalkeeper, I guess that's probably maybe that is the case. But it's kind of weird, the fact that they already have a decent goalkeeper in their roster, but they are thinking of getting another one that in case maybe Joe Willis eventually went down, then Brady Scott might be kind of that second string goalkeeper that they're looking to trying to insert him. Now, the Philadelphia Union have just signed Paxton Aronson to a homegrown contract. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who exactly Paxton Aronson is. He is, of course, the brother of Brandon Aronson, and that we could actually have a case where the Philadelphia Union will join the Portland Timbers in terms of having a players that have two brothers playing in the same team. Obviously, the Timbers have the Chara brothers, which I'm kind of surprised the Chara brothers doesn't play with each other as much as I thought would do. I mean, I know Diego Chara is a player that pretty much play every game for the Portland Timber, but for Jimmy Chara, I thought he was going to probably get a lot of minutes too, but throughout this MLS's back tournament, when the Timbers eventually won it, he didn't really play as much of a big role for this team as I thought that they would, of course, insert him. But, you know, in terms of this deal, it's going to be interesting to see the two Aronson brother playing with each other, although since I think both of them are playing in the same spot, most likely we're not going to have a case where we're going to see the two Aronson brother playing in the same spot, and that maybe there could be a situation where maybe Brandon Aronson will be subbed off, and instead it will be his brother Paxton Aronson, who I heard that he's also a player could be right up there in terms of having that same quality that his brother Brendan is having, and knowing the fact that the Union eventually is going to sell Brendan Aronson in the upcoming months or maybe in the upcoming years, they think Paxton Aronson is going to be a perfect replacement for him. And you gotta also remember, Paxton Aronson, he came out of the Union Academy, and the Union Academy has started to become one of those youth academy that has become one of the best ones coming out of MLS, and they usually produce very good starting product coming out of the academy. So very interesting to see how Paxton Aronson does with the Union. He's only 16 years old, by the way, so I'm not quite sure if he's going to get a lot of minutes or anywhere near as much as what Brandon Aronson is getting right now. But I think in a couple of years, once Brandon Aronson does move on, Paxton Aronson could really be the guy that will step into his brother's spot in that midfield. The Vancouver Whitecaps, of course, have officially sold Hunk Inbom for $3 million plus 25% sell-off fees to Ruben Kazan. And, you know, this is the thing that I kind of talked about in the last news of the week, where there's a rumor that he could be going to Russia. Well, now it's official that they, of course, have officially sold him. And as I said, it's a shame that it didn't really quite work out for him, but the good news for the Whitecaps is that not only they are able to get some cash out of selling this player, but now they have a DP slot that is open up, and this could be a chance for them to get another big piece kind of player to their team. I mean, so far, when you look at the DP signing that the Whitecaps have done ever since they have talked about how they are going to be starting this deep rebuild, it hasn't really quite worked out. And, you know, depending on how Cavallini will do this time, and they hope that Cavallini might be the number 9, that they finally can be the true goal scorer for this Whitecaps team. They haven't really had a lot of success in terms of signing designated player, but hopefully with them now having an open spot in terms of that, they can maybe find that another DP that could really fit in this team and really can complete this long rebuild that the Vancouver Whitecaps are doing. I mean, right now, I know throughout these first couple of games, and, you know, in the tournament itself, I know they did move on into the round of 16, and they are one of probably the most surprising team that actually made it to the round of 16, consider I thought this was a team that was just punting the football with the way that they were missing a lot of starter and pretty much fill a USL side heading into this MLS's back tournament. But that being said, they still have a long way to go in terms of this team being competitive, and that this deep rebuild that they are going, yeah, last year was kind of a wasted year with them finish near the bottom of the table. This year they really need to show that progress, and hopefully what they did in the MLS's back tournament, what kind of a miraculous way of them moving on into the knockout round could actually bring some momentum in terms of this team potentially taking some step toward this deep rebuild that they are once again starting from scratch again heading into this season. Now, the Montreal Impact have transferred Luis Binks to Bologna, but this move will not happen until the end of the season, so Binks will still be a Montreal Impact player until the end of the year. And obviously, they transfer him to Bologna mainly because that's pretty much Montreal unofficial affiliate club. I mean, for whatever reason, Montreal and Bologna tends to have a very good relationship, and they tend to like to sign each other players in total. So it's not surprised the fact that Binks is kind of going to their affiliate team for that, and that I won't be surprised if he might actually come back to the Montreal Impact because of the relationship that they have with them and Bologna. But we'll see whether or not if Binks can, of course, continue to be decent. I mean, I thought he was decent throughout this tournament, but we shall see whether or not if he can continue once the regular season, of course, resumes. LAFC agreed to part way with Diamande, and this is definitely kind of a sad news to see because, what we saw in the first couple of years when Diamande was at LAFC was just incredible, and I thought he really had a bright future with Bob Bradley's team, but unfortunately, injuries really kind of hold back in terms of him potentially part of this team. And knowing the fact that they, of course, got BWP, and it seemed like BWP might be the player that is going to take away the spot that Diamande has right now, and the fact that they also realized that Diego Rossi can definitely play in that number 9 spot, it's really just a situation where there's really nowhere to put Diamande anymore, and he's kind of phased out of that spot. But I wish him the best in terms of finding a new club, but it's kind of sad to see that Dio is no longer with LAFC, consider he is probably for the past couple of years one of the more important player for this LAFC attack. Now, their crosstown rival, the LA Galaxy, have rumored to sign Colombian wingers Yoni Gonzalez from Benfica, although he actually have not played a single game with Benfica, and he actually, before he was with Benfica, he actually played a bunch of games with Corinthians in the Brazilian Serie A. Now, this is one of the few times where I actually think that this is definitely a much-needed move for the LA Galaxy, because you know how I always said that the Galaxy, whenever they get rumor with attacker, I always think, why in the world are they going to sign another attacker? Why don't they think about signing some defenders? Because it's pretty clear that defense is just hot garbage right now, which it still is till this day. But when you look at what happened throughout this tournament, it's not just the defense that is a huge issue right now. The attack is now also going to be an issue right now, and it's no wonder why now the Galaxy, I really felt like for these next couple of games, and that even if they do potentially get Dos Santos back in the squad, I just don't know if this team is going to be a team that could really be competitive. I mean, they might, if they get Dos Santos back and also get Chicharito back, they might able to get themselves sneak into the playoffs, but that's pretty much it, because from what I've seen from this Galaxy team for the first couple of games and in the MLS's back tournament, doesn't tell me anything. The fact that this team can make it to the playoffs, and that this team look like a team that was in 2017 when the Galaxy actually hit rock bottom and won the wooden spoon, and that it is pretty clear that they need to eventually start to find some solution to kind of quickly rebuild this team, because I'm pretty sure a lot of Galaxy fans are not going to be content with a rebuild, and especially not going to be content to have to deal with the same situation that 2017 that they had to deal with throughout this season. So we'll see if they eventually is going to sign some reinforcement on the attack with this Colombian winger Yoni Gonzalez. And yeah, but moving on in terms of the next news, and kind of moving away from talk about transfer rumor and players that has been signed or players that is leaving the team. Now we're going to talk about injuries news, and the only injury news that I have report, unfortunately, has to come from Minnesota, and it seemed like Minnesota says that Iko Opara will not be with the team at least for the first couple of games, as he's still trying to recover from that injury that kept him out of the MLS's back tournament. Now, obviously, Iko Parr, we know that he is the heart and soul of this Loons team, but I think after what I saw throughout this tournament when they didn't have Iko Parr, I'm not as concerned as I was in the beginning of the tournament with the Loons not having Iko Parr, because it's pretty clear that throughout this tournament, I was kind of surprised the fact that the Jose Aja and Michael Boxall kind of center back partnership really works out, and knowing the fact that Minnesota have just recently got Debasi from Amiens, and he could definitely be a guy that could be fill into the spot that Iko Parr is in, or maybe he can play in the fullback position and potentially fill in for Roman Mentinier, who still don't know whether or not if he is going to be good to go once the regular season resumes. It's not the end of the world in terms of the fact that Minnesota is going to lose Iko Parr for the first couple of games, and that things are still kind of going to be fine with this team. Now, that being said, we would really want to have Iko Parr back, and that, again, he is really the heart and soul of this team, and the difference between him in this team and the difference between him without this team is still kind of pretty big, and that this team is definitely going to get better if they do have Iko Parr in, and especially the fact that this team will definitely get better if they are going to get Emmanuel Reynoso, who, again, there's been a lot of reports that this deal is getting close. I was really hoping that this deal was eventually going to be getting done this week, but it seemed like that is not the case, and we're just going to have to wait a couple of days of seeing this deal get over the line. There is reports suggest that the U.S. Open Cup is going to be canceled for the first time in their history due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And this news actually technically is official, because I think SI has basically announced that the U.S. Open Cup will be canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And that, I really think the MLS's back tournament, after how they said the team that won the tournament, which is the Portland Timbers, gets to be in the CONCACAF Champions League next season, I think that spot is pretty much going to take over with the U.S. Open Cup, which is going to be canceled this year. And it's such a shame, the fact that the U.S. Open Cup is canceled this year, because I always rated the U.S. Open Cup and that I really enjoyed this competition. And especially, when I watched the qualifying match last year, and that I saw a couple of teams, and one team specifically, Olympic Club, with them able to get into the first round of their club history. I was really hoping that they could be one of those Cinderella team that could make a deep run into the playoffs. And I also remember just 2 years ago in the U.S. Open Cup, or actually not 2 years ago, but last year in the U.S. Open Cup alone, Alfredito get to play Fresno FC, and that was one of the rare times that an MPSL team was able to play a USL championship team, and Alfredito almost knocked out Fresno FC in that game. And if it wasn't for I think it was like a goalkeeping howler that Alfredito committed right near the latter part of the game, we could have saw a huge upset in that game. And that's the beauty of the U.S. Open Cup. I mean, I know people say that at the end of the day, an MLS team is going to win it, but still, in the early rounds, you could definitely see some big upset with MPSL teams, or even USL team at times could knock off an MLS team in some of the cases. I mean, just look at last year how New Mexico United, they also made a deep run, knocking off the Rapids before falling to one of the finalists in the U.S. Open Cup, that is Minnesota United. That's a great story to have. And even if you want to go back to the story of Florida Soccer Soldier, of them, a UPSL team knocking off a USL championship team, which is a rarity to see. This is going to be some story that unfortunately we're not going to see because of the tournament being canceled, and that also this really harms these kind of lower league teams that, some of these teams really rely on the U.S. Open Cup in terms of the ways that they can, of course, get money from their team that is already kind of low on budget in terms of, well, it's already kind of hard to try to pay the fees to actually be in the league in the first place. And I'm pretty sure this pandemic has really crippled a lot of these team budget in terms of their future of being into the league. But now with the U.S. Open Cup not going to help them bail those fees out, yeah, I do worry a lot about these clubs that are probably going to have to force the fold because of the fact that they just cannot afford to play in the UPSL or even in the MPSL in the upcoming years, because playing in these league is not a free kind of option, and that these clubs at the end they still have to pay fees in terms of actually joining these league. But finally, in terms of the last news, and I know this video has got over the 30-minute mark. I mean, I did tell you that this is going to be a long video, but the last news I'm going to be talking about kind of have something that is related to what I'm about to do in the next video, which is the preview of the 2 games that are going to be happening in the next 2 days. And the reason why I said 2 games besides the FC Dallas versus Nashville game is because we have now found out that the Free Canadian Club will indeed face each other in their home market in the first phase of the regular season, which means that all three of these teams, Montreal Impact, Toronto FC, and Vancouver Whitecaps, will play against each other in the home market. As I said before, the reason why they decided to do this is because these teams cannot cross the border right now to play an American team and expect to cross back to the border and not have a 14 days mandatory self-isolation period. So that's why they have to, of course, do this. And we already heard that that Toronto FC might be a team that will be joining NYCFC along with the Red Bulls to play at Red Bull Arena. But now we also heard news that Montreal could be another team that could be playing in Red Bull Arena for the second phase of the regular season, knowing the fact that they, of course, cannot be able to play against a team in the U.S. during the regular season. I haven't heard anything about Vancouver and what their future is going to be after this phase, but yeah, at least for this first phase, these teams can play in their home market, but I think at times it's going to get old in terms of them have to face off each other and playing them 3 times at each other. I mean, I don't mind seeing the Canadian Classic 3 times during the first phase of the regular season after what we saw in the MLS's back term and when that game ended 4-3, and that I'm hoping that we're going to see some similar fireworks that we're going to see in these Canadian Classic kind of games. So yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week. Let me know in the comments below in terms of all these news. And again, I know this has been a long video, but that's because we had a lot to talk about. But in case if I didn't miss anything from these last couple of days that I didn't put here on the board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time, and I actually will see you guys later, as I am actually going to do the preview for the FC Dallas versus Nashville. And also, let me just double check what's the Tuesday game. I think it's Toronto versus Vancouver for the Tuesday game. That is part of the first of what would be 6 games that these Canadian teams will, or the first of 18 games that these Canadian team is playing. Yeah, it is going to be Toronto versus Vancouver that is going to be playing against each other on Tuesday. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I, of course, will see you guys next time.